It's a real honor to be here, and thank you for inviting me. And I'd like to share a few thoughts on our company. And as we met just a little while ago, and I got more perspective on. So we added a couple of slides to share some perspective on indigenous startups for India here. So hopefully this will be helpful. So in starting the company, I was working in a research laboratory and had a division of about 100 people. And we were building instrumentation systems for the U.S. Navy. And I had just finished my PhD. And I really didn't see the university and what we were doing. We were getting more and more to what looked like commercial products. And I wanted to stay in Austin, and I didn't see a job I wanted, so my alternative was to create a job that I enjoyed and wanted. And I loved working with technology and being around scientists and engineers, so we started a company making instrumentation interfaces for a very new standard that was created by Hewlett-Packard. In 1975, it had been adopted as IEEE standard, and so that was our starting point. We saw a need in the marketplace for working with Digital Equipment Corporation computers, and we knew how to design it, so we moonlighted for 3 years while we continued wrapping up a very major project at the university. So we were able to self-finance. Now, I was just saying earlier that I've been trying to advise other people to do that, and I probably have tried 100 times or more to explain how you self-finance a company. And I've yet to have a successful, somebody who was successful taking my advice. So it's very difficult to do. In the U.S., venture capital has been available, and quite a bit of it, and angel capital as well. Now, there are funds starting up that are funding overseas, angel funding too, so perhaps that's an option. But anyway, we were self-financed. I did have some advisors. There was an Institute of Constructive Capitalism, IC Squared, that I used to attend the seminars. We had some manufacturers come to town, like IBM and Texas Instruments. We also had companies like Texas Instruments that were doing technical advertising. And they would play a big role because some of the guys would moonlight and help us out. And so we were able to get that ecosystem that we needed to start up. Because without that, you make too many mistakes, you know. When we started a company, we had an accountant that didn't know about cost of goods, for example, and that doesn't work very well. You quickly get into chaos. So these experts are needed just to be able to operate, and so having the ecosystem and getting that going is a major part of success in making things work. With that, we have now been able to establish a very strong position. Our customers are scientists and engineers, and I guess that's kind of by choice because I enjoy working with those applications. I've visited most of the big physics facilities around the globe. CERN, I've been in the tunnel 3 times. I had dinner with the director of CERN in April, and they announced in July that they found the Higgs boson, but the director was saying they were going to find it, so he already knew in April. So being able to rub elbows with these kind of applications, SpaceX and Tesla and things like that, is really what makes it fun for me and my job, along with the technology that we work on. So our job is to see that these scientists and engineers are productive, innovative, and discovering new things all the time. So we try to help them out all the way into fusion projects, which we know is 50 years away, but as I put it, we have to try. So we also work with Lego on Mindstorm software. It can be quite confusing. How can the same software that's launching the SpaceX rocket be used for kids' toys? Well, it's about abstraction. I'll talk about that more. So we work with Lego Mindstorm. So that starts the first point on the curve for our outreach to get kids excited about engineering and science. We work aggressively around the globe, including the United States, to really get kids bonding with technology at an early age. We've empirically learned that robotics is the best way to do that. We've tried a lot of different things, but robotics seems to stick. Kids can build these robots and then they can program them. So it gets them engaged at the engineering level. So our key product is this LabVIEW technology that is basically a system design tool. The CERN Large Hadron Collider, we've got 10 microsecond FPGA-based control doing that application as well around the ring. As was said, we've been able to build a billion-dollar-plus company over the years. It's been primarily organic growth. The two major downturns did affect us. The second one was a lot about cash crunch at financing for equipment and the like, so that one is kind of artificially induced from the financial community. The first one was the bubble burst after the big run-up in the dot-com and the fiber network build-out and all that. We have been profitable throughout the years, and that enabled self-financing. I always tell the story about Steve Jobs, who tried to talk us into putting LabVIEW on the Next. We turned him down. Ross Perot, when he was financing Next, told Steve Jobs, look, you got to be a good business if you want autonomy. So the first time around, he was painting the production equipment designer colors. Second time around, he knocked it out of the park and made us, the rest of us, look, like amateurs. So he did an incredible job at realizing that he needed to be a good business if he wanted to have autonomy. So he did that very well the second time. So we have been able to create a culture where we have a good environment to work in. I'd like to talk a little bit about this. If you're around National Instruments, you quickly learn about these two triangles. I was taking a quality consortium course that was put on by the University of Texas. It was 2 years and it was 3 hours every week. And quality, is really about getting folks motivated to do the right thing. And so looking at that, I read about a dozen books, which had been my habit in learning how to run a company. I probably read a couple of hundred books on management and how to run a company. Never took a single business course. So the first triangle is about how corporations serve society. I think the meltdown in Wall Street was a lot about the breakdown of this triangle where the stakeholders weren't working in a win-win way. And I think there are challenges in that generally in finance. It's about success for the stakeholders, the customers, the employees, the shareholders, and the suppliers or partners. You want win-win goals, and that's why corporations exist. That's why they're as valuable to society, because they add value to these stakeholders. And I think especially among young folks, it's important that they understand that, gee, we aren't just some grubby corporation. We're a value add to society. And I think that's an important point to be conveyed. The second triangle is more about innovation and a way, a vision, and using vision to drive a company forward, and getting a lot of folks, both internal to the company and external as customers, excited about what you're doing. sometimes we had over 4,000 people attend our NI week in Austin, and almost 1,000 here in India. And it's about getting folks charged up, excited about what they're doing. And the idea that we do that and have very excited customers is very important to the role the vision plays in operating. So I always say we want to communicate the vision internally so our employees get it, and externally so our customers get it too, and then use that vision to stimulate and drive innovation on one side, and then continuous improvement. You need both of those to be really successful. Typically, highly innovative products have loose ends, although I do have a Tesla, and they did a pretty good job their first time out with a sedan electric car, really the first functional electric car on the market. And so it is possible with a pretty high level of innovation to do some pretty good things with the right tools, I might point out. The second, this slide is when we went public, I was very concerned, this was in 1995, that we would keep our long-term focus. So the first time I met with the investors, I presented this slide, which I entitled the 100-year plan. I figured if we were going to be influenced by the quarters, the shareholders, why not add the 100 years to it to balance it up a bit? So that's what we did. You can say, well, we don't know how big a transistor is going to be 100 years from now, or if we're even using transistors by then. But it's really about the core values that you're creating, supportive innovation, the culture. We call it the NI way, that you're creating it at that level where it's these more fundamental values or points in a corporation. And then, as I'll show, the vision has been roughly on a decade timeline changing, always adding to where you were in the past. So it's cumulative or additive in the way it works. The people you're hiring. And we've had to, from time to time, bring people. We've primarily hired straight out of school, but when you're learning a new area like accounting, so you have to bring in experienced people to do that.